Okay, practice 3 and 4. Practice says, for each scenario, use graphing technology to determine the shape of its graph. Then identify the function family, whether it's increasing, decreasing, or combination, has an absolute max or minimum, and whether there's a smooth or straight curve or line. So number 3, it says Sherry's going to put $500 into account with the People's Bank. The bank is offering a 3% interest rate compounded annually. The amount of money that Sherry will have after X years can be represented by a function. Now, on all these problems that we're about to do, number 3 and number 4, they're going to give you a word problem, okay? That's not what we want to worry about. We just want to worry about here is how that word problem applies to the function that they give you. So we wouldn't just type this into your graphing calculator on our Chromebook and then analyze that. So let's go and do that right now. So I'm going to switch over my viewpoint here. Now I'm going to go to my calculator on my screen so that you can see that. So you go to your Chromebook, pull up the TI-84 app, and now let's go ahead and graph that like we've learned how to do in class. Okay, to graph something, we go to y equals. And now let's type in that 500. Type in exactly as you see it, 1.03. And then hit the exponent button for x. And then over here, we put the x button right here, okay? So we typed in x then, and then let's hit graph. Now when I hit graph, nothing is displayed on my window. Well, here's what we're gonna do is introduce you to a new function because this problem does get pretty large. Hit the button that says zoom. And we want to hit number 3 where it says zoom out because we need to zoom out to see it. Then hit enter, and what your calculator will do is zoom out. I still don't see my graph. So we're gonna hit zoom again, and we're gonna zoom out again. We're gonna zoom out again. And there is finally my graph that is pictured. So sometimes our graph is not in the window that is traditionally set for us. And sometimes we have to zoom out. So now we have the shape of our graph. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch back to my notes. Now number 3, that is the shape of the graph that we have. So let me write this out. We have this curve. Now this is what we call an exponential curve. It is also continuous, okay? Continuous because it is connected from point to point, it's smooth. And it is increasing from left to right. It's an increasing function. It has no absolute maximums or minimums, okay? There's no like turns to go from increasing to decreasing. It's just going increasing all throughout. So there's no maxes or mins, okay? And I think that actually kind of answers everything. Yeah, it's a smooth curve, and it's what we call an exponential curve, and it's continuous. Now number 4, let's do number 4 now. Same idea. It gives me this word problem, all right? Now on this word problem, all I really care about is this function. This is what I want to go now back to my calculator and type it in. Now on number 3, I noticed that the exponent, all right, was the variable x. What I told my kids is to remember is that anytime I have a variable as the exponent, x is the exponent, it should always be curve. It should be exponential that we're going to run into. Now on the number 4, let's get ready to go do number 4. So I'm going to switch over my viewpoint again. Back to my graph. So let's go and clear out my graph again. So let's hit y equals. Let's get rid of that first one. And then let's type in what the new one was. So I forgot to write down what that new one is. 20,000 minus 2,000x. 20,000. Make sure we have enough zeros there. Minus 2,000, and then hit the X button. Now hit graph. Okay, now when I hit graph there, it gives me that particular line. Now, this is not a stellar problem here. Let's go zoom in. So let's hit zoom and let's hit standard, number 6. That kind of resets my picture back to the original window. Now in this case, I can see the graph just off to the side, But in this problem, 20,000 minus 2,000x, well, it's again not a great picture here because of this large amount. I'm going to zoom out again. I'm going to zoom out pretty far. So let's zoom out because it looks like it's a vertical line, but it's not. Okay. It's still looking at it as a vertical line, and it's not a vertical line. Okay. So I'm going to have to kind of just sketch this for you guys because they get such a large number of 20,000 that you can't quite see the shape of this line. It appears to be vertical, but it's definitely not. So let me go ahead and switch around my viewpoint here. Okay. Whoops, sorry. Let me see here. Let me try another app that I might have to see if I can get a better picture for you guys on that. So I'm going to type in that 20,000 again. This is just a different graphing calculator app. Minus 2,000 and then x. Now let me hit graph. And the same thing's happening here is, well, it's pretty large. And right there is where I get that. But the problem is, because of this silliness, man, this is not a good picture. This was not a good function to do. Okay, so when I zoom in, when I get the 20,000, let's look at this. It starts on the left side of the y-axis. And then as I go down, it is ever so slightly decreasing. And what I should eventually see here is that it's going to cross over the y-axis. It's just going to take me a little bit of time here because it is actually decreasing. Now, the reason why I know this is because I've done, well, math for many years. And that function that we have there, okay, it is a decreasing function. And as I'm finally kind of scrolling down here, you can see that line getting ready to cross over the y-axis and onto the right-hand side of the x-axis. So that means it's not vertical anymore, okay? It means it is at a bit of an angle. So as I keep doing this, what that tells me is it is slowly decreasing. And it's because they gave us such a large number on there. So in this instance, as I keep going, okay, we finally have crossed over the y-axis. And when I go back to my now screen that we've had our answers on, this was a very bad problem because it was so large. This is essentially what the line is doing. Okay, it's doing this. But because it's such large at 20,000, it's not great. So I'll have to fix that for next year for sure. But anyway, let's answer this out. This is a linear continuous graph because it is smooth, it's connected from point to point. It is most importantly decreasing as well. And because it's a line, there's no turns in it, it is just decreasing. There is no maxes and mins, okay? And that's really about it. So it's just a line, and the reason why, again, I knew it was going to be a decreasing line, it goes back to you guys at some of the years when you've talked about slope. We're going to get into that later. I knew that was going to be the case, so I knew it has to be decreasing because it's negative 2,000. Okay, I asked you to do practices 3 and 4, and I also ask you to do on this one review 1B. Review 1B is asking me to identify an axis of symmetry, which I do not have an axis of symmetry. Axis of symmetry would be a vertical line I could draw that would map the left onto the right. I don't have that. And then identify the quadrants it is in. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this appears to only be in quadrants 1, 3, and 4. Yeah, that's about it. And we said no axis of symmetry. Okay, that should do it. Sorry about, I should say sorry about those two questions where you had to use some